I've had people go off on all sorts of crazy shit on me. And you know what's happened? Fucking nothing. What are you going to do? Come to my house? Fuck off. One evening, when I was definitely 18 years old and not a single day younger, that's Dave, who wrote this script, by the way, admitting to what I assume are going to be or covering himself for his crimes. That's what happens here. Dave reads it, Dave writes it, I read it. Get it right, Simon, you've got one job. I was sitting in the pub with a group of friends. This particular pub, the Victory Inn in Old Portsmouth, was at that time what people might describe as an utter dive. In order to tempt people past its peeling exterior, paint, shabby decor, and broken furniture, the management had instigated a student night every Wednesday. Although the attraction of free pool, a free Duke box, and pints of lager and cider at £2 didn't exactly get the place heaving, the elderly Liverpudlian bar manager never used to worry about such trivialities as checking ID or making sure you go outside to smoke, and because of this, it became our regular haunt for 2 to 3 years. Yeah, there was definitely can you do this today? There were places in the past where they definitely didn't. You could just go in there and drink when you were a kid. When I was 16, there were definitely a couple of pubs that we used to frequent on the regular, where it was just they'd just be like, yeah, of course, you look old enough. Definitely did not. On the evening in question, a young man entered the bar wearing a high-vis jacket and carrying what turned out to be a collection bucket. Approaching our table, he explained that he was collecting money to help out members of the local blind community and asked us if we'd be interested in making a donation. No. If that happens to you, think about it, be like, oh yeah, no, I would like to help the blind. Don't give that guy any money. Go home, go onto the computer, find a reputable charity, and give money to them that way, because that's, the right way of doing this. Never one to miss out on an opportunity for hilarity, I happily explained that it had come at just the right time. I reached over, helped myself to a handful of coins from his bucket, and after unfolding my white cane, headed off to the direction of the bar. That's actually amazing. I totally read that forgetting Dave was blind. Oh, David, this is true. That's amazing. I was later told that the look on his face was utterly priceless. Obviously, I only did this as a joke and fully intended to return the money. However, before I could do so, the bar manager appeared, and in spite of the fact that she was in her late 60s at that point, unleashed a barrage of physical and verbal abuse, ejecting the guy from the premises. She told me later that he was a well-known con artist, and the money he collected was never used to help anybody, except perhaps by slightly increasing the profits of one cheap vodka manufacturer or another. I wouldn't say that's a con man. It's just a scam. It's just a stealing. To me in my mind, con men or con women, it's there's some intelligence behind it. This is just a guy being like, can I have some money? It's not. Is that a con? Obviously, the fake charity scam is nothing new, and with the exponential growth of social media over the years, parting people from their cash has only become easier. While those who engage in this practice deserve nothing more than to get stonefish for the rest of their lives, what is a stonefish and how do you shit it out? It becomes worse when we discover that actual registered, allegedly reputable charities are playing fast and loose with people's well-meaning donations. There is a famous thing, how to legally say this. I just won't name them.
Say it.
There's a very famous sponsor on a lot of YouTube videos that, God, it's too obvious who it is, isn't it? They give away prizes and they say that it's going to charity and stuff. And I could never figure it all out because they approached me about sponsorship and I spent ages, because normally I'll just be look on Reddit and see what people are saying about it to see whether it's legit or not. I went through this for so long and I just couldn't make heads or tails of their financial structure and how anything works and all of this. And I'm so it just didn't feel right to me. When a charity is good, there's rankings and stuff, and I just couldn't find out the right amount of information about the different charities and all of this stuff, and I was just this feels too sketchy. It's one of the ones that I'm just waiting for there to be an expose video about. So it's one of the sponsors that I don't work with. Let's see, maybe it's awesome, but I just didn't understand the finances behind it, and I didn't like it. It just seemed sketchy. Not any specific company in particular, of course. I didn't name them. Why am I so worried? I didn't name them. I'm not saying anything about them. It's not the one you think of. Maybe.
In a stunning turn of events, a superhero is being sued.
Today's video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform for anybody who wants an amazing website in no time at all. Look, Squarespace, it's not just any website platform. It is the ultimate tool for you to build a website and then stand out online because your website's gonna look sick. even if you don't know what you're doing, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't have a design bone in my body, but somehow I made a website on Squarespace that looks nice. And I mean, by somehow, I used their Fluid Engine drag and drop editor to make a website based on a template, and then I just swapped it out with my own text and images. And that's how it ended up looking amazing in less than an afternoon. Squarespace have your back. Plus, they've got blueprints, AI, and SEO tools, so you have an optimized website, all of that SEO juice that you're going to need to get people there. Plus, they allow flexible payments. So if you're running a store on Squarespace, you can accept credit cards, offer buy now or pay later options with things like Afterpay and ClearPay. Plus, Squarespace courses, whether you're an expert in your field or just starting out, Squarespace empowers you to create and sell your own online courses easily. From uploading videos to setting prices, Squarespace have you covered. So head to squarespace.com/Blaze for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, don't forget, use the promo code Blaze to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. And now back to today's video. In today's episode, we're going to look... Oh, this is the introduction. I'm sorry. Let's get into it.
Excuse me, what are you doing?
Diamond Gym Ranch. Who doesn't love helping kids? James Patrick Garrett certainly convinced a lot of people that he did, even going so far as to set up his own company in Branson, Missouri. So, just exactly what was this charitable organization supposed to be doing? Well, according to Garrett, his company was committed to raising funds which would go towards helping displaced or homeless children. More specifically, it would provide homes, food, and education. Sounds like a perfectly acceptable undertaking, right? Well, yes, and it would have indeed been a perfectly acceptable undertaking if that were, in fact, what he was doing. Alas, it was not. Using his status as a fairly popular John Denver tribute artist, okie dokie, Garrett would set up charity collection boxes at his shows, and at the end of the night assured the members of his audience that all the money would go towards the aforementioned cause. Apparently, the music of John Denver, or perhaps more likely the alcohol consumed in order to get through a night of listening to the music of John Denver. I mean, I've heard of John Denver. I don't really know any of his songs. I feel like he's one of those people you bring up on Spotify, and then you're like, oh yeah, I know these. But apparently they're not very good, according to Dave. Inspired tremendous generosity in the people of Branson, and before the scam was exposed, Garrett received $82,000 in donations. When he was eventually found out, presumably because no hungry, homeless, or uneducated children in the area received any help, authorities discovered that he'd used the money to promote his shows, pay off his credit cards, and dine out at fancy restaurants. Oh boy, this feels like mega fraud. Like, that's a lot of fraud, my dude. I feel, allegedly, I feel like you're gonna go to jail for this one.
Oh, crap.
After pleading guilty to fraud, he was sentenced to 5 years of probation. Oh, he avoided jail, did he? In order to pay back the $82,000. In a legendary move by the judge, $52,000 of those dollars were paid to Foster Adopt Connect, an organization that helps children and families navigate the foster care system. The rest of the money was paid back to the original donors who could be traced. Why not just give all of the money to the charity? That seems like a good thing to do, because those donors wanted to give the money. Don't give it back to them. Just give it to the charity like they originally intended. I mean, this is a good move by the judge, but like a better move would have been just to give it all. If I had been one of those original donors, I would have been more than happy for my money to go straight to a real charity rather than back to me. Exactly. And it would have saved all of the, I'm sure, extensive legal work in tracing the original donors for like £5 or whatever. Speaking after the ruling, Garrett said, "I take full responsibility. I and I alone dismantled my life, my career, my relationships. I know I undermined the confidence people have in other non-profits. I lost my way and betrayed my own values. If, like me, you're a fan of poetic justice, who isn't Dave, then you might be pleased to hear that in order to make restitution, he was forced to sell his house. If only there was a charity in the area that could help displaced individuals." Yeah, I'm surprised he avoided jail, to be honest. 82 grand in fraud? Feels like a lot to just get probation in America. The Foundation for New Era Philanthropy. Started by John Bennett Jr. in 1989, the Foundation for New Era Philanthropy, or just New Era, appears quite high up in the Charity Watch Hall of Shame. Looking back, it's almost inconceivable that those who got taken in by this organization didn't realize there was something amiss. The premise, if not the actual operation, was exceptionally simple and will doubtlessly be familiar to anybody who knows what a Ponzi scheme is. A not-for-profit organization could ally itself with New Era and give them some of its money for a predetermined amount of time. Once that period was up, they would receive their money back. Plus, and this is the bit that really sold it, an anonymous philanthropist would match that amount, meaning that they would have doubled their money. Wait, this makes no sense. I guess this is the thing. It's like Nigerian scams, right? The Nigerian prince scam, where it's like someone sends you an email and it's been like, hi, I'm Prince so-and-so from this country. And it's like, who falls for this? Why is this still happening in 2024? Like, still, like, you'll still get spam emails like this. And it's like, yeah, because they send out enough and there's enough dumb people. If just 1 in 1,000 people is dumb enough, which definitely is the case, then send 10,000 emails and you've got 10 people who are going to send you like whatever the advance fee fraud is, like a few $100s or whatever. And seeing as like sending spam emails from like a botnet or however they do these things, it probably isn't that complicated. That's why they still exist, because there's lots of stupid people. In reality, these anonymous philanthropists never existed. Instead, as you may have guessed, original investors were paid back using money from the new investors, and as investing with New Era had become more popular and the Ponzi scheme began to spiral out of control, the organization was forced to take out $50 million in loans to keep the whole thing from falling apart. As you can probably imagine, this was broadly equivalent to attempting to stop the blood flow with an amputated limb with sticking plasters on it, and in 1996, Bennett was charged in an 82-count indictment. Bennett is going to jail. So, how was he able to get away with this for so long? Well, there are a number of reasons. Firstly, he was successfully able to deceive the IRS by falsifying company assets, inventing board members, and forging minutes from meetings. Secondly, he played heavily on the fact that he was, at the time, a respected Christian leader. Oh, God. Yeah, people are like, how could he ever do anything bad? He's a man of the cloth. Wait, is he what does that mean? He's actually like a priest or whatever? How could he do anything wrong? He's a good Christian. He would never steal from us. He laughs in like televised preacher.
We've been tricked, we've been backstabbed, and we've been quite possibly bamboozled.
Obviously, a man of God would never get himself involved with something dodgy or illegal. Not only were countless not-for-profit organizations taken in and robbed by Bennett and his organization, including the American Red Cross, World Vision, and Nature Conservancy. He also managed to con money out of Lawrence Rockefeller. In 1998, Bennett would be sentenced to 12 years in prison for his crime. Yes, my dude, that's what I'm talking about. During the proceedings, evidence showed that he had personally stolen nearly $7 million from investors while also paying him $26,785 per week in consultancy fees. According to Google, out of the $500 million raised by New Era, $135 million was embezzled one way or another. Bruh. I hope they also got that money back. Dave doesn't mention that. I hope it's not like he spends 12 years in jail and he's like, yeah, I got gold bars buried in my backyard or something like that. That'd be bad. Kids Wish Network. Before I get started on this one, I want to make absolutely sure that everyone is aware that I'm not talking about the Make-A-Wish Foundation. The Make-A-Wish Foundation is awesome. Unfortunately, this is conjecture on my part. It appears that the, shall we say, slightly less reputable charity known as the Kids Wish Network may have chosen a similar name to divert donations in their direction, potentially reducing the number of terminally ill children who get to meet John Cena. Yes, these people. Like, you're capitalizing on a name through some like legally dubious naming it similar sort of thing, and that's not cool. If this is true, then it certainly is not the most figuratively criminal thing that they have done. Fun fact, John Cena follows me on Twitter. I don't know why. I was just like, before the verified thing on Twitter changed, you used to get like a notification when someone verified follow you. And I was like, oh, John Cena, I recognize that name. I was like, oh, hello, John Cena. Maybe you love me because of this show, in which case, hello there. According to their website, Kids Need Hope Today, children nationwide are dealing with life-threatening illnesses, poverty, abuse, or homelessness. You can help improve their quality of life by giving them extraordinary experiences where you get involved with our life-giving initiatives. If you click on the Donate Now button, you're presented with various levels of pledge from $25 to $250, each of which will allow a child to receive a different experience. Now, I'm not saying for one moment that this charity does not provide children with once-in-a-lifetime experiences. Seriously, I'm not. What I am saying is that their fundraising and charitable spending history is deeply questionable. While carrying out research for this script, I came across an article from 2008 in which Charity Navigator, a sort of TripAdvisor for the various charities, had awarded the Kids Wish Network 0 stars. Curious, I looked into this a little further and found an article from Business Insider claiming that they had been branded the worst charity in America for 2013. So, why was this? Well, according to the results of a year-long investigation carried out by CNN and the Tampa Bay Times, the Kids Wish Network only spent 3 cents of every dollar on donated experiences for the children. The report goes on to say that between 2003 and 2013, the charity spent $110 million on professional, for-profit soliciting companies whose job it was to raise more money. Remember how I talked about that company that I didn't want sponsoring me? This was one of the things. It was unclear, like, maybe it was Charity Navigator or something like this. The charities, like, I just couldn't work out how much money was actually getting to the charities and how much money was going elsewhere, whether to this company that was sponsoring, whether to the people who started the charity. It just wasn't clear enough for me. I like the charitable giving to be clear that most of it goes to charity. And look, I understand that charities need CEOs and they need marketing and this kind of stuff, but need to see more than like 3 cents on the dollar, guys. Money which, if the former employees we should talk about later are correct, wasn't really needed at all. In addition, nearly $5 million was paid out to the company founder, members of his family, and his own consulting firms. It's also been implied, although I confess I have found no hard evidence to support this, that the self-same company founder has a financial interest in the soliciting companies who were employed. Allegedly. There's no evidence to support that, it's just allegations. If this was, in fact, the case, then they may have been raising money that was being funneled through the charity and back to them. Allegedly. Maybe. No evidence to support that, it's just speculation by people who are not me or Dave. But what about the former employees I spoke of earlier? At the time, the charity was granting approximately 70 wishes every year. Quite apart from the professional fundraisers, it was the job of a small team to contact various theme parks, attractions, celebrities, etc., and see if the trips could be organized free of charge. Then, donors would be contacted and encouraged to donate the amount that such an experience would have originally cost. According to a former employee, Meander Debay, quote, "We would have one person call to get the actual services donated, while another person was calling to get the money donated for things I was already getting for free. I wouldn't go and say, take this off the budget, I got it for free. I have no idea where that money would go." Uh-oh. If people were particularly receptive to a child's story, supervisors would encourage coordinators to keep calling would-be donors long after the initial target had been reached. Even though none of this appears to actually be illegal, misleading people into believing that their $250 donation will pay for a child's trip to a theme park with transportation and hotels, when in fact only $7.50 actually goes towards trips, companies employed to purely raise money for that employment seems incredibly dirty. In Dave's opinion, and from what Dave has presented to me in my opinion as well. In the words of Ron Zarello, another one of the charity's event coordinators, quote, "I realized this was more of a money business than a children's organization. There are better organizations people can give their money to," end quote. Again, not something we say, that is a quote from someone else. Personally, I recommend the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Yes, that's a good one. Go with that. The Cancer Fund of America. This is like... I don't know how, like, stealing money from cancer charities is worse than stealing money from charities that provide wishes to dying children, allegedly. It's so grimy. Oh. Whilst all of these entries seem to follow a fairly familiar pattern, and regrettably, this last one is no exception, I'm a firm belief that the Cancer Fund of America could be, apart from most organized religions, the biggest charity scam of all time, in Dave's opinion. As a quick aside, if I may take the topic of organized religion and briefly run with it, I was secretly delighted to receive my first piece of genuine hate mail a couple of weeks ago. Whoa, it's taken so long, Dave? That's it? You don't get hate mail every day? Like me? Don't get me wrong, I get abusive messages in the comment section from time to time, and that's nice, but this individual, whose name temporarily escapes me and I can't be bothered to look it up, actually took the time out of their busy day to send me an email. Not just any email. A brief search online will provide anybody who's interested in contacting me with at least one address that will get through to me. But no, the person was so offended about my open disdain towards Catholicism that they actually tracked down my personal email address and used it to tell me, in very unchristian language, if I didn't lay off religion, there would be consequences. Yeah, you. You can say whatever you like about religion. There are not going to be any consequences. This person's not going to do anything about it. Anything. I've had people go off on all sorts of crazy shit on me. And you know what's happened? Fucking nothing. What are you going to do? Come to my house? Fuck off. Incidentally, if you're watching, I fully intend to respond to you just as soon as I finish categorizing the vast array of misquoted scripture included in your message. Anyway, let us get back to the Cancer Fund of America. In 1984, James Reynolds Sr. was fired from Knoxville, Tennessee chapter of the American Cancer Society. The reason for his dismissal? Taking ownership of a brand new Ford Mustang that had been donated to the charity so that it might be auctioned off to raise funds. He literally stole a car from a charity. Allegedly. Whilst you may think that such behaviour might make it difficult for him to continue working for any sort of charity, you would be wrong. After his dismissal, he founded the Cancer Fund of America, as well as several other similar organisations, including Children's Cancer Fund and Breast Cancer Society. Among other things, these charities claim to assist cancer sufferers with the cost of medication, transport to and from appointments, and help with bills that they may not be able to afford while undergoing treatment, which are fantastic things to do. But I get the feeling they are not being done. In reality, according to an article in the Tampa Bay Times, quote, instead of medical treatment or financial help, patients got boxes of sample-sized soap, seasonal greetings cards, and Little Debbie snack cakes. Whilst cake is always nice, it did kind of raise the question of where all the money that had been donated to the charities had gone, and there was a lot of it. Oh my god, I just saw the figure. $187 million to be precise. How did it take so long? That's an extraordinary amount of money. It took far too long for authorities to look into exactly what was going on, but when they did, a detailed investigation involving all 50 states was carried out. As you may be unsurprised to hear, the results showed that James Reynolds Sr., his son, his ex-wife, and several other family members had spent almost 90% of the money raised on luxury cars, luxury cruises, fancy gym memberships, and college tuition. When asked about the case by a reporter, one employee of the FTC said she was almost speechless, but then rallied impressively to make the following rather wordy statement, quote, the groups operated as personal fiefdoms characterized by rampant nepotism, flagrant conflicts of interest, and excessive insider compensation, with none of the controls used by bona fide charities. So, what happened to Reynolds and his family? Well, not that much. Settlements agreements were reached and serious financial judgments were handed down to those involved. However, seeing as how they had spent all of the money and had none of their own, this meant very little. The ex-wife of Reynolds, who should have paid back $30 million, had her judgment suspended entirely due to an inability to pay, and Reynolds Jr., who should have paid back $65.5 million, had his own judgment suspended after paying $75,000. But apart from the fact that the entire family was forced to agree that they'd never become involved in any other charities, that really does appear to be the limit of their punishments, and this is most uncool. I am speechless. Even the dude who got $82,000 had 5 years probation. Some dude went to prison for like 12 years. For like less. What happened? If I ever get into trouble, who the f*** are your lawyers? They're amazing. That's where we end today's episode. Thanks for being here. While those who engage in this practice deserve nothing more than to get stonefish for the rest of their lives, what is a stonefish and how do you shit it out?